I'm not surprised that Kiffin's leaving a program. I'm surprised that he handled it the way he did, and the process played out the way it did for an 11-win Ole Miss team and a historic run that's in the playoff. You want to win a championship, you have a team that's in the playoff, and you're leaving that team for a theoretical opportunity.
Yeah, look, let's start all this with giving him a bit of a break. That this is new. We've never seen this before.
Yep.
So that. Let's give him that. I don't doubt that the timetable conundrum with regard to signing date, portal dates, all of that adds to the issues that he faced, but also more importantly, what Keith Carter and Walker Jones face, who the man in charge of putting together the NIL for Ole Miss. What I find disappointing, and I was most disappointed in his press conference yesterday in Baton Rouge. Now, of course, all the LSU people are like, "Oh, Brando, what do you mean? It was a great press conference." No, it wasn't. Lane is usually pretty comfortable with the media. I like Lane. You like Lane.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we all like Lane. Okay. But he repeated himself. He was noticeably nervous. Not that he doesn't move around a lot when he talks. That's just Lane. But he was repeating himself, talking point after talking point. He really didn't answer many of the questions. He could have very easily talked about Charlie Weiss, why he chose not to talk about him. It was clear he was already on the staff, so he wouldn't answer any questions about that. And this notion that all of the national media agreed that he should have been able to see it through and coach his team to the end. He must live in some sort of SEC network vacuum, believing that everybody that's in national media works for the Disney Corporation. They don't.
Right.
Now that blew me away, and I wasn't the only one that noticed it. Nicole Arbach did. A lot of other people that are working in broadcasting, whether it's for NBC or CBS or wherever, they noticed it too. That part to me was disappointing. And look, anybody that thinks other than Scott Van Pelt, have you seen anybody on ESPN talk about how there was no way in hell that they should allow him to coach in the playoff as the LSU future head coach over a 3-week period? Because Scott's the only one that I've seen.
I mean, it's groupthink, right? I mean, I view it as like Saban saying, if Saban's saying it, then no one else is going to go against that. And if they're talking LSU's perspective, they had Booger McFarland on.
Right. And by the way, Booger was the only guy last year that pointed out, or a couple of years ago, that pointed out Alabama should not have just been given a spot over Florida State. So, but in this case, I think Booger got caught up in, this isn't the pros. I think he covers more of the NFL than he does college.
I was just tying to the LSU part too for him.
Yeah. That part too. Yeah. I get it. It's easy to, but I do think that I was shocked that everybody on that game day said, see, I tape everything. I was busy doing the Territorial Cup. I've got my Fox duties, but I tape everything. When I get home, I take a look at everything. I love college football, and I want to see what the talking points have been here and there. And there's not one person on that game day set, which, by the way, is big enough now to almost the size of President Trump's cabinet. I mean, they got so many people up there, but they're all they're all striking the same chord. There's no doubt in my mind that's groupthink, and that groupthink is coming from the top. Okay, that's just the bottom line. That's how that works. And it's a good thing I worked there when it was owned by Cap Cities and Getty Oil, because I wouldn't have lasted 6 months, not to mention 2 years on game day, because editorial content here is clearly not something that they're in charge of. Somebody else is, and it's unfortunate. I feel bad for those guys.
Hey, if you like the channel, become a season ticket holder for Hot Mic by clicking the subscribe button below and join the conversation in the comments section. Agree, disagree, we'll join you there in the chat. Now back to Hot Mic.
Tim, do you have any issue with Nick Saban, and Lane Kiffin admitted this, that Nick Saban told him to take the LSU job? Do you have any issue with that? I know people are saying conflict of interest because he's on College Game Day and you're taking one team's coach away from
that's
them and
the
giving
other
them another.
Lane sort of blew his cover yesterday. He would talk about what Pete Carroll told him, but he admittedly said, "Well, I really can't, talk about that, because and everybody kind of nodded in agreement with the Baton Rouge media, and they asked some good questions. By the way, I was sort of proud of the homeboys. Many of those guys I know, and they did ask some good questions. He just hemmed and hawed and ummed and inned around them, and didn't say very much. And so, by his standards, and he's usually very good with the media and very comfortable, I thought he was uncomfortable and repeated himself a lot. No, here's the thing with Nick, okay, and here's the history on that. Terry Saban never was happy about going to Miami, and she carries a pretty big stick in Nick's life. Over time, when they went to Alabama, and even after that, the hurt that was caused to LSU fans, and this is the other thing, these Bingle Barneys and Bayou Billies on social media coming after me about being critical of LSU in this instance, in certain cases, and especially in the aftermath of what happened with Brian Kelly. And you see their lawyers have now straightened up and have decided, what, if we have all this money for Lane, we better not. We're going to go ahead and fire him without cause now. He's going to get his $54 million. We found $200 million for this package for Lane, $200 million. That'll be the total package. So we'll go ahead and pay off Brian now and not worry about getting too dirty and getting down in the gutter over what they might have been thinking about going public with that they should never have gone public with. But she was very distraught over leaving Baton Rouge. And he has said many times publicly, Nick has, this past year at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and I was there, saw them there. I like Nick. I do. I was there when he got that thing started, and he's the greatest coach of all time. But like Lane, he was chasing, and he felt like, you know what, I got to chase Wayne Huizenga to the tarmac, get on this plane, go to Miami. Well, I told Baton Rouge media this the other night. My old station called me, and I said, listen, if you're an LSU person and you're wondering how Ole Miss feels, remember how you felt when Nick Saban went to Alabama 2 years after he got on that plane to go to the Miami Dolphins? Well, Ole Miss people feel that way as if it were on steroids. It would be that kind of feeling, only on steroids for them, because he's going directly to the rival. He's not going to the NFL for a couple of years and then managing. And I think that Nick carried a little bit, if only because Terry did. I think Terry carried, she felt bad about it. And over time, with a lot of friends that they had in the Baton Rouge area, this huge home on Highland Road, and the people would come there and congregate all the time. They made a lot of friends in Baton Rouge, a lot of good friends. And I think he felt bad for a long period of time about it. And now that he's out of the Alabama coaching job, even though he still has an office there, he wanted to somehow, I think, pay them back by coercing Lane into coming to LSU, because that's what the LSU people wanted. The very same people, and I'm sure they called Nick first. They were swinging for the fences, so they called Nick first, and he said, "No, I'm not interested in the job. I'm not going to do this anymore, but I'll help you." I'm sure he did that, and I've got no problem with that. I don't.
But Saban's also saying Lane should coach Ole Miss in the playoff if he leaves.
Yeah, well, that's garbage.
And Saban's not going to play around with Ole Miss and slap him in the face the way Lane did.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Everybody got their talking points, including Nick. Okay,
yeah.
Under what circumstances is a rival school going to let this guy and go give a 3-week? Let's say the intent is to win it all, right?
Of course,
the intent is to win it all. Do you think that the histrionics would say Ole Miss won its national championship in 2025 with the LSU coach? Yes. They would have. That's the way it would be written in college football. And fans, tribal fans, are going to hold that over Ole Miss always. And that's exactly why Carter couldn't do it, and why Ole Miss as an institution couldn't do it. I give Keith, by the way, what a job. He had everything ready to go. His contingency plan was ready to go immediately. He had Golding set. He had his coaches that outside of Weiss and people that weren't going to get on that plane with Lane set. And guys, I hearken back to Bo Schembechler. I really do. And in that moment, when he said he wouldn't have anyone other than a Michigan man coaching a Michigan team. I hearken back to that. Now, some of you may not be old enough to remember that, but when Ramil Robinson got to the free throw line and won that national championship for Steve Fisher, Bill Frieder was the head coach of that team. And he accepted the job at Arizona State, and Schembechler wasted no time. Your ass is gone. Okay? That is that. And you know what? It worked out okay for Michigan that year with Steve moving over. Might we see history repeat? That team has got a chip on its shoulder now. You know that, because people are saying the committee is going to come out today and say, look, they're not the same team. We're going to probably bump them down.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Now think about that. Guys like Chambliss and so many others on that team, they're going to play really hard for Pete Golding. And my only question is, who's going to be the puppeteer of the offense? Who's going to be in the ear of Trinidad? But we'll find that out. I'm sure they've got a contingency plan for that too.
Tim, it looks like 5 SEC teams are secure in the college football playoff right now for reading the past rankings.
That's not enough. That's not enough. Got to get 6.
Well, Vandy would argue
Texas is in. Texas is in.
Well, ESPN. So let's get into this, because ESPN immediately turns the page to Texas deserves a shot, right?
Of course,
when they beat A&M.
Absolutely, they do.
Where was ESPN on Vandy? Well, they went 10-2. You know,
they're Vandy.
10-2.
They're Vandy.
Vandy's the only one stumping for Vandy right now.
I know. Hey, I know.
That's it.
I know they're Vandy, but they're also SEC, Tim.
Right.
And ESPN is too.
Well, but they feel like they've got Nashville sewn up. And by the way, Nashville is also the home of OutKick, and so hey.
Yeah. Well, not the full time.
I don't need to tell you how they feel about.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you how they feel about you guys.
It's true. That's true. What?
But no. Honest to God, it is unending. The trail of propaganda. It's and I listen. By the way, it was nice to see Feinbaum critical of Lane, because he should have been, but Paul was just lockstep right in. You knew he would be waving those Texas pom-poms. He's going to make sure he gets all those checks before he runs for the Senate. It's clear. God bless him. But Texas, it's not enough to have 5. We got to have 6. So they'll find a way to shoehorn 6 in there. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Texas also lose to Florida? I believe they did.
They lost. They lost pretty convincingly at Florida.
Pretty convincingly, yeah. So Utah, Mountain Time Zone, BYU, Mountain Time Zone. You better beat Texas Tech, or you're not going to get in. That's the gauntlet. That's the gauntlet that faces the Big 12 to get 2 in. Only way that happens is if BYU can pull off an upset and beat Texas Tech. That's it. That's the only way it's going to happen. This SEC invitational concept with the 12-team playoff is the next big story out there. And they're going to have to find a way. They being Petiti and Sankey and the other and Phillips and Yormark. And Yormark will be absolutely explosive if they don't get 2 in. He was at our Arizona State game, and our sideline reporter Josh Sims was interviewing him right in the middle of the first quarter, and he was about to say goodbye to him, and he says, "Wait a minute, I want to talk CFP." Josh didn't even have to ask the question, and I think Josh was going there, but I think he thought he was going to get 2 questions, and that was it, because we were in play in the first quarter. So he's ready to explode if 2 don't get in. And if BYU is competitive, fellas, if BYU plays a great game and loses in a close game to Texas Tech, I mean, how in the world do you leave them out? And Notre Dame gets in, and all these other teams from the SEC, like Texas, get in. I mean, that's just fundamentally wrong. It's just fundamentally wrong. But the metrics are going to be what they are. The quote, Allstate Playoff Predictor is part of the ESPN metrics, which the committee has adopted. Dinich told us that a month ago.
Yep.
It's so don't tell me it's not corrupt. It is corrupt, period. The people that are on the committee aren't. They're not the brightest when it comes to football, but I'm not saying they're corrupt. the system itself is corrupt. And it's got to be, there's so much that's got to be fixed, fellas. I mean, so much that's got to be repaired with college football in the offseason. And the time is now. And I'm going to just say it. I know it's not popular because TD doesn't take as many calls from as many college football writers, and he's shielded from the media. I think so. He has a poor relationship with a lot of them, frankly, and it doesn't need to be that way. Tony's an affable, enjoyable guy to be around, but his plan to earn spots as opposed to select spots is the right plan. Okay. If anything, it's a little ahead of its time. I don't agree with 24. God knows 24 is too many now. But earning those spots through play-in tournaments within your concept of scheduling makes a hell of a lot of sense over this garbage that we know is going to be thrown at us on Selection Sunday, and we're just going to have to deal with it. The setup is there. It's absolutely there. Alabama barely beats Auburn, which secures what? Another spot for the SEC. Another spot for the SEC. Texas does what it had to do, secures another spot for the SEC. It's all a part of the grand plan, and it is a corrupt plan.
Tim, is Penn State going to have a coach by the time we kick off in 2026? Because it's looking like they're not going to have one for signing day tomorrow.
I can't believe as unpopular a thought process as the Giants ex-coach was. They couldn't get him.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought for sure they'd get him, didn't you? I mean, it's a tough situation. I think they might have to look at their interim. That guy's done a pretty good job. They may have to look at that. I don't know who's ready to jump on that thing right now. There were some candidates I thought that made some sense, and they really weren't that interested in it. While I'm with you guys talking about coaches that have taken jobs, has the Will Stein thing been made official now?
Yes.
At Kentucky?
Yes.
Great hire. Great hire. I was telling my friends from Ole Miss that in the aftermath, I thought Stein, if you can't get a guy like Lanning, Stein is your guy. I mean, he is a bright coach. The other great mind, other than Norris, that Eric Norris that just went to the moved out of North Texas and is headed to Oklahoma State. The kid at Texas Tech, the offensive coordinator, Leftwich, very much like Stein, sharp individual. He's really good. Sheil Wood, their defensive coordinator, in my mind, should win the Broyles Award. That defense at Texas Tech is just unbelievable. And I know they had a nice payroll, but he still had to coach them up. And they have been brilliant all season long. But there's a lot of others. Isn't it funny how the LSU thing just sucked all the air out of all things college?
It did.
Lane got all of it. And I guess he feels like if everybody on the worldwide leader's in, then the whole national media is in. We don't exist.
Yeah,
None of us exist.
Lane's the victim. Lane's the victim in all
Always.
this. Hey,
Somebody said to me, does Lane always lead this way? I said, yeah. Lane has sort of become the Keith Olbermann of coaching. He doesn't just burn bridges, he napalms them.
Hey, man, you've got Duke, Michigan State coming up, don't you?
Yeah, how about that?
That's not a bad
Pretty good one to start with,
not a bad
right?
tip-off.
Pretty good one to start with. I'm excited about that game, and might be one of the biggest games at Breslin. You know, that's a game that generally would always be played at a neutral site. Thankfully, this one isn't. I think it has something to do with COVID. I think it goes back to that when he decided to when Izzo decided to play a game at Duke, and this is a payback for that. But I'm really happy that is the case. Jimmy Jackson and I have it. It'll start our day. We come on at noon on Championship Saturday for football. So that's the great thing, fellas, about moving from football to basketball. You always finish the season, no matter how much we love college football, you always finish it with a bitter taste because of this garbage at the end. It's just, and people say, why don't do you love football more than basketball? No, I love them both. Why? Well, because basketball gets it right at the end. Okay, at least, and every game is a damn good game. These games that are in November that arguably need to be played in December, not November, because nobody's watching, my God, have those games been good.
Yeah.
College basketball's games have been incredible this year, and most people just haven't paid attention. But this time of year in December, I think people start to take a little bit of a look going into the holidays, and number 4 versus number 7 sounds real good to me to start my season.
I flipped through and I heard the sweet
Sounds Timmy B. Yeah.
of Timmy B. I'm like, I'm
Stick
watching
with
this
it.
game.
Once you
I'm
hear
sticking
Timmy
with it.
B,
You're
stick
going
with
to
it.
do
It's
a,
authentic.
you're going to do an over under drinking party on how deep into the game I say iron unkind. Are you going to do that for me?
Only if I know where you're going to do it.
I like to stay alive, Tim, so I don't play a drinking game with that. That'd be too many.
Yeah.
When my oldest daughter was in college, there was a drinking game about that. There was like, it was like 15. We're going to take 15. I'm going to say 15 minutes in. I'm going to take the under. I'll take the over.
We may start one here.
Tim, thank you as always. Always great perspective. Let's catch up soon.
You got it, fellas. All the best to you. And we just keep on keeping on.
That's right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to OutKick Hot Mic.
Daily content and more at OutKick Hot Mic on YouTube.